Welcome, Spartans, to Mission Debrief. We're playing every mission of the mainline Halo video game series in chronological order, discussing our experiences and unearthing the deepest, darkest, dirtiest lore along the way. If you'd like to play along and have your thoughts read in the show, email us at podcastevolved@gmail.com or drop us a tweet at podcastevolved on Twitter. If you like what you hear and want to support the show, visit Evolved on Patreon. For everything Evolved has to offer, visit evolvedhalo.com. This episode, we're debriefing the high-value targets, the distress call, there's just one, and Easter eggs from the Reformation area in Halo Infinite. I'm your host, Colin Perkins, alongside David Arnold.
Hello, everybody.
And Krista Brown.
Rest in peace, high-value targets.
Yes, rest.
You were assholes.
Yeah. Last mission was the Fobs and Outpost episode for Reformation. The door to the command spire is locked, but a series of 4 beacons nearby hold the key. John and the weapon decided to loosen the banished grip on the area by establishing the local Fobs and destroying the final 2 outposts, Annex Ridge and Riven Gate. Now, the weapon has identified a smattering of high-value targets that need to be dealt with while Master Chief is collecting the data necessary to complete the sequence, which should unlock the command spire. So, Chief deals with them. And by deals with them, I mean he kills them into the ground and steals their stuff.
Yay!
And there's a couple Marines to save too. The date of the game is May 28th, 2560. Okay, this is the last round of chores.
Yay!
Woo!
Couple of comments before we go around. We're going to cover the high-value targets in detail, and then we'll talk about the distress call, and then anything else that we find interesting in this area. There are lots of collectibles, lots of audio logs, all that sort of stuff, but we won't go into detail on all of it. But how are you guys feeling here? I guess so. You've played it. You know that you can come back afterwards. How are you guys feeling kind of mopping up this stuff before we continue on to the story stuff?
I pretty much do this with most video games where I feel like I have to go and do everything extra before I move on to the next story mission. Mm-hmm. It's some kind of dark compulsion that I have to do all the side quests and stuff, so ends up being a case where it's like Skyrim where the world is ending, but I spend 100 hours just roaming around doing nothing.
Was it different for Halo though? Because you know Halo, how it's been, and this is the first open world experience, and knowing your tendency to do that, was it more enjoyable, less enjoyable? Did it?
Generally when I do little side quests like these, it's kind of a part of the game where it's like I want to enjoy the gameplay, but I don't necessarily want there to be a lot of story. So it's kind of like where you sit down and you listen to music or you watch a show or something like that and just kind of vibe with the game. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what I do. I sit down, I just make a whole session out of, getting all of the collectibles, and then I go to the story and actually pay attention to what's going on. But I've never not liked doing that, but I do.
But I'm saying for Halo, is it different because you're doing it in Halo versus another game?
No, not really. I still felt compelled to tick off all of those little things on the map before doing the next thing.
Gotcha. David, any thoughts on that?
I think it was worse for me because it was Halo.
Really?
Yeah, because some games when they're open world and you have a checklist and stuff, I'm just going through it and I'm paying attention to something else or I'm watching something else in the background, and it's kind of fine. I like kind of the grind of a good open world game like that. Mm-hmm. But this one, I was glued to. I wanted to know everything. I mean, whereas all these audio logs, piecing together these stories that are scattered around this whole map, I mean, it was driving me crazy trying to explore and find stuff, and eventually had to. Did I use a guide for some of the guide for the skulls? I did for sure, just in case, because I was never going to find them. I found one naturally, I just couldn't find the rest. The world was too big; it was too much potential, and I just had to know, Colin. I just had to know the answers.
Right, so it was almost like and plus you had to pay closer attention because it was Halo, maybe?
Yeah, definitely. and you're trying to find these eggs, and I never found anything really, and it's just you're trying to pay attention. But I loved it. I spent so much time my first playthrough just exploring.
Yeah, and we've talked about how, I mean, personally, I love this. I was playing earlier today, and I was just looking around, I was like, this is awesome that they've given us this playground to just go do some Halo, right? Granted, it's not, well, this section of the game, when we're just going around collecting stuff, it isn't driven by a story. It's a different driver, right? It's like, oh, I'm just going to go see some cool Halo stuff. Maybe have some interesting Halo encounters. But the tension, I guess, isn't there as it is when you're playing a regular mission, which we'll play in the next couple episodes, right? So it's different, but it is welcome. I enjoy it. There are some. We'll hear some people's thoughts in my community question. I did want to point out one thing from my perspective, though. As I was going around and searching for collectibles, I think, like with the Spartan cores that you're using to power up your armor, I didn't feel like it, especially on heroic, that I necessarily needed to do that in order to complete the game. And maybe it's because I've already completed the game. But I was going, and the collectibles are fun and interesting to a degree. But to my point about the chores, like, they do get tedious because you want to go finish the game, at least from my perspective. So I didn't feel like I was necessarily powering up Master Chief for a reason outside of just needing to get all of the things. Like I've already been, well, I guess I have all the things. So my after I've gone around and collected everything, so my Mjolnir armor is completely powered up with some cores to spare. But I didn't feel like I needed to do that in order to keep going from a gameplay standpoint. Does that make sense, Krista?
Yeah, no, and I feel like a lot of games have this, because obviously they're going to have more upgradable, or like the items to upgrade the thing than upgrades itself, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, they have a bunch of Spartan cores, but you don't necessarily need all of them to have a complete Master Chief, because, I mean, half of the shit I don't even use, right? So yeah, I think it just does come down to a completionist thing rather than a, I need this for the gameplay thing. Because I feel like once you upgrade your shields, your grapple hook, and then maybe the enemy detector, I mean, everything else is just kind of like, oh, I guess I have these, so I'll spend them.
Yeah. And it's not like they didn't give us a Metroidvania where you need the thing to get past the thing.
No.
And maybe they will do that eventually. I mean, you kind of need the grapple shot, but I guess you don't really need it to complete the game.
And there's stuff missing from the campaign as well, Colin. I mean, there's no repulsor. I've still never used it.
True. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. So anyway, just some food for thought, I guess. I do like being able to power up my armor, but it would be a more interesting experience if I needed to power up the armor in order to do something specific. If that makes sense. Not necessarily. I guess maybe it is a Metroidvania thing, but it's like, oh, I have to go get some more extra Spartan cores to unlock this ability in order to pass this wall here. Maybe that wouldn't be well received, but I feel like doing all this stuff, I have 5 extra power cores, Spartan cores, that just aren't doing anything. And granted, that's just so you don't have to collect them all to power all the way up. But I feel like the point of powering up is to use them in, during combat, and you do to a degree, but again, like we've talked about, a lot of times you just default back to 1 or 2 things and you're not using everything. But maybe that's just for variety and everybody's personal preference. So anyway, just a thought. One other thing I wanted to mention is there's a bridge that connects the Pelican Down section. Did you guys know that? I didn't realize that until playing through.
Yeah, I found that a few times, a few different playthroughs. Yeah.
So you can drive over there, and then once the bridge drops from where we got dropped off last mission to the command spire, you can essentially drive a Warthog all the way back up to the Mortal Reverie, because all those bridges are connected, which is cool. So yeah, lots to do. The world is fully opened up. We're gonna go mop up the rest of the things that they've given us to do. Find all the we'll not cover the audio logs, but you just lots of stuff to do. So go do that. Go enjoy some Halo. I'm hoping they do tweak things a little bit, and we'll cover some of that during the last recap episode. Okay, one last thing is the AA gun. One of the AA guns that we saw that we destroyed in Pelican Down. You can actually see it just kind of overlooking this area too, which is kind of neat. And again, we talked about how now it makes sense that you have the Wasp because the AA gun is knocked down. But if you had that Wasp and that thing was still up, it would just, it would immediately knock you down. So I think a nice touch there to make that a good story tie-in. Give a good reason for the Wasp to be available now. Okie dokie. I'll just go over the area collectibles one more time, just so everybody has them top of mind. There are 13 Mjolnir armories. There are 8 banished audio logs. There are 15 Spartan cores. There are 4 skulls. 3 of them are found in this open area, which we'll talk through real quick. 25 audio logs, and those are all most of them are the Spartan audio logs. And I guess I'll stop here really quickly. I know we've covered them in Podcast Evolved, but I was listening through the scattered episodes today, and they do have an audio log for Makovich and Sorel, both of their deaths essentially, which I thought was a nice touch. Sorel when he was being encountered by Hyperius and Tavares, and then Makovich and Sorel were together when Jega or Damnai was hunting them, and essentially he's the one that killed Makovich. So nice that they included at least a little bit of lore around those specific moments outside of when you find their bodies. There are 3 Forerun artifacts. I'll just mention where they are. Oh, you know what? We do need to talk about those today. So sorry. We will talk through those Forerunner artifacts. And then there are 13 propaganda towers. That's what I wrote down. So hopefully that's right. Okay, let's do the high value targets. David's going to take us through. He's going to read the kind of the intel on them. And I have them in alphabetical order. David, you can do them in whichever order you want.
Okay, cool.
And then I do want to talk about, just real briefly, I guess here, why don't I just do this? I'll introduce the guy. I'll talk about their weapon, and then you can take us through their stuff. But the first one in alphabetical order is Arthok, and he has the Ravager Rebound, which in all these weapons are like the white versions, so kind of like the fancier versions of the weapon. And that, when you fire it, the projectile, normally it just kind of splashes and burns the area. This one will bounce and then splash, and it's probably a little more powerful too. So I didn't really use it at all. Ravager's not my favorite, but the bounce is kind of cool, at least. Go ahead, David. What's Arthok doing?
Arthok is a captain. He is the Jirharni champion, known as Arthok, has wreaked havoc on the UNSC operations for the better part of a decade. First serving under Korth the Render, part of the Brothers of Unending Ire, Arthok led nearly 4 dozen individually documented assaults on colonial sites. The most notable was his vicious ambush on the colony of Tercia that claimed the lives of 3 full ODST squads. Recent intelligence reports indicate that Arthok joined the rest of the Brothers of Unending Ire, pledging allegiance to Atriox and the Banished. Their motives are currently unknown, but each member should be considered an extreme threat to the UNSC forces that might be in close proximity.
Fancy.
There we go. Fancy
stuff. So Arthok is to the west of Fob November. He's really just kind of in the middle of the road.
He is.
Yeah.
And I just, as you're going around, you're obviously fast traveling and whatnot. I have a Scorpion and a Wasp, and I was like, I'm going to take a Scorpion over there. And so I took a Scorpion over there and just blew him up. It wasn't very difficult. Let's see here. Yeah, that's all I did in my notes. Rolled in with Scorpion. Super easy. Just a few cannon blasts. And he dies.
Hooray!
That's what I did. Krista, what'd you do?
I just went on foot, just kind of picked off all the guys, his ads, and then just murdered him with, I think it was a shock rifle. I've been using that a lot lately. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's very satisfying. I like the sound it makes.
Mhm. Yeah, one of these guys has a fancy shock rifle, and I didn't get to using it, but I do have what it does.
It's so fancy.
David, do you have any thoughts to add on Arthok?
I don't like his weapon. I used it maybe once or twice when I first got it, but I never used it ever again. And then I think the most recent time I took him out was ridiculous, where I had a fully buffed up Warthog full of Marines, rocked in, and they just deleted him. Like, I didn't even see where he went. He just went. He boosted up over, and I think they killed him mid-flight, and then that was the end of it. I just never saw what happened next.
Oh, really?
It was pretty ridiculous, but it was cool. Loved it.
Nice. Oh, Arthok. He's just in a bad spot.
He is in a bad spot.
Some of these guys are in better spots than others. All right, we will go to Bareth. Let me find him on this map really. Oh, Bareth is the he's a jackal, isn't he? Let's see. Is he a jackal?
He is a jackal.
Yeah, he's got a stalker rifle ultra, and he's on a little ledge above his crew, right next to kind of that. I think, did we decide this is the spine, that kind of crack in the
Yes.
in the space there?
The big canyon.
Yeah, so he's right, kind of in the south end of that. He's got a stalker rifle ultra. What is a stalker rifle ultra? From Halopedia, it says an improved version of the stalker rifle with a faster firing rate. It can be fired 12 times before needing an event. Huh, something handy.
Fancy.
I tried using it. I didn't have a ton of luck with it, but maybe I'm just not a stalker rifle guy. Perhaps. What's his bio, David?
Our lovely Bathroth is the Arc Cutthroat, having earned the title of Cordat, earned the title of Cordat for his exceptional prowess behind the scope. The Ruthaean marksman Bathroth garnered a reputation among Kigyar treasure hawks. What a word, treasure hawks, and raiding crews, crew with a K by the way, guys, for his virtually unblemished accuracy record. That reputation earned interest from the Banished and eventual invitation into their Blood Star ranks with the aim of producing a lethal Spartan killer. To date, our best intel attributes at least 271 UNSC deaths directly by Baroth. If given the opportunity, we must engage carefully but with extreme prejudice.
Nice.
I mean, he sounds cool, but like he goes down real fast.
He does go down fast. Do you remember how you took him down?
Almost identical every single time I've ever gone near him. I've been in a flying vehicle and I just land on the cliff above him and just shoot down. And you just kill him straight away. It's so simple. I might have killed him once or twice in the aerial vehicles, with like a Banshee bomb or something. But yeah, he's nothing.
Yeah.
That's not very nice.
That's what I did.
It's true.
Pretty much did the exact same thing. Only I had the tracking rocket launcher, which one of these other dudes has.
Oh my
and
god.
I honed in on him and just blew him up with one rocket. And he's dead. That's it.
I just walked up to him with a battle rifle and shot him in the head.
Really?
And then oh, okay.
Well, he doesn't have any, I don't think he has any shield or anything.
No, he's just a regular jackal.
Yeah. That's funny. Alright. Let's do Engeddon. He has the Rushdown Hammer. It's a special gravity hammer that has been painted white and gives the user increased speed like the Duelist Energy Sword, so you can swing it faster. And we'll just say you can hit harder too. Because I feel like I used it in one of these encounters and it did seem like it hit pretty hard. What's Engeddon do? What's his rap sheet look like?
Engeddon is a chieftain, Alpha Pack. Engeddon parted ways with the Covenant alongside both Aatrox and Decimus, a mere foot soldier of the Alien Alliance, until his service in the Banished unlocked his true potential. Upon returning his clan in Zomar, a major city on the Jiralhanae colony moon of Thish, Engeddon rallied those who had remained to join the Banished, forging his identity as their chieftain, and it was here that his savage leader began to gain his destructive renown. Like other Banished leaders, Engeddon led a distinctive subset of warriors, the Bulwark of Bone, gathering its own followers before coming to service of Aatrox's campaign. In The Banished, the chieftain proceeded to carve a violent path through dozens of human colonies, most notably Seaford and Vernius, large-scale raiding operations that left the worlds crippled in their wake.
Nice.
Hmm.
He's got one of the cooler names too, by the way.
Yeah, I can get it.
So he's on the west side of the map, almost to the first open world area. You can fast travel to Fob Hotel, and then there's like a hill and then a ridge, and he's kind of up there he's hunkered down a bit with a couple of his buddies up there. Let's see, what did I do? I flew over with a wasp, and then I used my tracking rocket launcher to kill him in one shot. Oh, no, wait. Sorry, that's the last one. Sorry, wrong notes. I did not do that. That's what I did last time. So he was on the hill. Yeah, and he's a chieftain, so he does have, the extra armor. He's got this spicy hammer, which is nice. Oh, yes. From Fob Hotel, I loaded up my Razorback full of Marines and power weapons and just kind of drove them into the center of everything.
Yes, correct choice.
It took one or two tries, but I just drove them in the center, and then they just kind of murdered everybody. And that's how it went down. I think I did the fancy skewer, the sentinel beam, prior rocket launcher, a couple other goodies, but yeah, full on Razorback style. Krista, do you remember what you did?
I had a chopper at the time, so
chopper.
Yeah, he was running towards me, and I was slowly backing away, shooting him, and then he died.
Oh, really? Nice. David?
I've definitely done the Razorback at least once, and I'm pretty sure I fought him on foot the second time, and I've never gone near them really since then. Like, the later game HVTs, I only really go after now if I want their weapon. Yeah. And I don't really have much use for the hammers or swords or anything like that. I just don't play that way.
Yeah, I feel like a faster swinging hammer is interesting, but
for sure,
not super useful. Because if you're gonna have a hammer, you're just gonna have a hammer. I don't know, as an extra thing, but it's neat that it's neat to have. I'm sure if there was like a special mode or something like that, eventually in multiplayer where they give you fancy weapons like this, it would come in handy. The faster swinging. But in campaign, I feel like it's not a huge deal. Okie dokie. Down the list we go is Myriad.
This one was cool. I like this one.
Yeah, I like Myriad. Myriad's cool. It's not only a cool name, but it is a cool encounter. And it's tough, I feel like. This is one of the tougher encounters I had. They are south of Fob Juliet. And what's their rap sheet?
Myriad. Recent reports on the Legolo species have revealed that some other interesting and in some cases unsettling observations, in particular related to the strain of combat-ready forms known as Megolo. We've noticed a behavioral evolution in scattered instances trending towards more individualized identity and intelligence, rather than simply an order-following hive mind. We encountered this in recent years with the Swarm Lords that served alongside a dangerous independent faction of the ex-Covenant Evocati, led by Kai and Naz, as well as classified reports of a bond pair known simply as Colony. Yeah, Halo Wars, baby! Our current attentions have turned towards a unified bond pair called Myriad, single-handedly responsible for the deaths of 2 Spartan 4 fire teams. Myriad represents not only an immediate danger to UNSC forces, but also dangerous precedent in the species' evolution.
Yeah, super cool. Super cool.
Dudes.
They, for some reason, have the backdraft cinder shot, even though they don't use it because they're hunters. The backdraft cinder shot, it bounces like normal, but then the explosion, it's like a cluster bomb, which is really neat. So it's
a really nice weapon. I like it.
It's super cool. So if you're gonna use a cinder shot, definitely use this one. I like the cinder shot. This one's way better. Krista, you want to talk about this encounter?
Yeah, it's pretty much kind of just an open field. There's some like trees and rocks and stuff like that, but
it's like a swampy little area, I feel.
Yeah, it's not a very interesting area, but there's of course Myriad, and then there's some grunts and brutes and all that kind of fun stuff. I just took the cinder shot and shot them with it. That got them down, both down to like half health, and then
Oh, okay.
a bunch of the brutes had shotguns, so I just finished them off that way.
Oh, you finish them off close quarters, huh?
Yeah.
Nice. So, do you kind of dance behind them, or how do you?
Yeah, I mean,
prevent
I've been
yourself
doing
from
this in Halo for a while, where you just kind of know the hunter pattern, so you just kind of keep sidestepping them.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Just do the hunter sidestep. I feel like it should be a dance.
It's pretty much a dance.
David?
Pretty much only ever done these guys in a Scorpion. I've never tried to do it any other way. I've only just Scorpioned it up. My first fight was really cool, but also really like awful in terms of near them. There's actually like what I'm gonna call a wild scorpion. It's just sitting in the trees. You can walk up at any stage in the game and just pick it up and get it. So even if you haven't unlocked the scorpion, they put one near, which I like. That was a good idea. The problem is then, of course, you're in Scorpion on this ring, which is just awful. So it's obviously very hard to maneuver. It took me a good while to get that particular Scorpion down to these guys, and I was deliberately doing it that way. I was like, okay, I want a Scorpion to fight these dudes. It was pretty tough. It was awful because driving a Scorpion in this game is awful. But you get there and you shoot them up, and it's pretty cool.
Did the Scorpion survive, or did?
It did once, but not the second time. I think I did it on Legendary at one stage, I'm sure, and no, it did not at all. But the environment you fight in is really cool. Like the structure that's there, the kind of lake, kind of marshy lands that they're kind of standing in. It's all a cool area. I really like this encounter.
Yeah, I like the area. Swampy, and I feel like there's plenty of stuff to hide behind. And yeah, it's fairly flat, but there's enough little things and trees and all that sort of stuff to make it interesting and avoid their blasts and whatnot. I did fly up there with a wasp before, and the wasp didn't really work very well. I think I got shot down right away, either by a shock rifle or something like that. So I was like, yeah, okay, all right, I'm just gonna go on foot. I did I think this latest one, I did bring a bunch of Marines in the Razorback. I tried that method, and it worked okay, but all the Marines died pretty much right away because I just drove them right in the middle.
They just ran up to the hunter because they're stupid.
Yeah, and I did have the Rushdown Hammer from Engeddon, and I think I ended up finishing at least one of them off with that, and then did the other guy from a distance. So, but they're beefy. They take quite a few shots. I do want to mention, if you do want a hunter that looks like these dudes, like the full-on red one, like a little action figure, Mega Constructs did make one. They're probably hard to find, and they're probably a little more expensive on the secondary market now, but they do have full-on red hunters, which are pretty rad. So, and I feel like that was probably a known thing. So they knew Myriad was gonna be in the game.
He's a pretty cool guy.
They.
I don't.
What
know.
are the pronouns? What's
I guess
it.
They don't really have genders.
Yeah, that's true. It.
Them.
I think them. They're them. Okay, let's do Ordo Mal. Ordo Mal is a elite, and he has the Scatterbound Heat Wave, which this is the Scatterbound Heat Wave. I did put this together, obviously, at the beginning of our series, but you find one of these in that little special room with the arcade, right near Outpost Harmonious, because it's white. It's a heat wave that's white, and this is a heat wave that's white, and the normal heat waves are gray or something like that. But when you switch to it in your inventory, it doesn't say Scatterbound Heat Wave. It just says Heat Wave. So, hence my confusion originally. But it says, let's see, a special heat wave that has been painted white, and its shots have good tracking against enemies after they bounce off the ground.
Oh.
So they'll track after bouncing. I was kind of curious about that one because I didn't have a ton of luck. I mean, it just felt like a normal heat wave, but I guess you gotta know how to use it.
Yeah, I never really understood what it did either. It's cool.
What's this dude's rap sheet?
His stuff. So Ordo Mal is a Wraith Master. No surprises there, guys.
Oh, that's the Wraith one.
Yeah, it's a cool fight.
Mm-hmm.
During the Covenant, War, Ordo Mal was unequaled among Sangheili raid pilots and was responsible for the deaths of at least 654 UNSC personnel. His death toll increased to over 1,200 in the years following, many of those taking place during the Banished raid on the UEG colony of Palanghar. Unlike others, Ordo Mal did not join the Banished until well after the Coblins' collapse in the wake of the Sangheili Civil War. Returning to his native keep, he united a network of feudal raid lances under his aggressive and mercenary leadership before being directly approached by Atrax for service in the Banished. In the intervening years, Ordo Mal found increased favour with Escharum, Atrax's right hand. This ascent earned him the title Wraithmaster among the Banished. He remains one of the single most dangerous elements in their combat stratagem. Not anymore.
No longer. So I have a hard time with this section. Krista, tell me it's easy.
This guy's just a big bastard, isn't he?
So you had a hard time too? Like, I feel like everyone I have a hard time with goes, yeah, I just killed him.
You
So
know,
you
I
did have
feel
a
like you
difficult time with
can't
him?
use a vehicle against this guy.
Yeah.
I think you just need to mount the Wraith. I don't think there's a
Oh.
better way to do it.
You went up and mounted it? Okay.
Yeah.
Did he pop out?
I love fighting him with vehicles, man. Just bring that beauty razor back in, man, with all your dudes and wreck some shop.
And then it
Do you...
hits
It's fun,
it and
man.
everyone dies.
Yeah.
He
that's what-
quite
that's what I
often
had.
gets out and legs it. Like, quite often when I fight him.
Yeah, once you get
Yeah.
the Wraith down to a certain point.
So did you blow him up, Krista, by mounting and exploding in the Wraith? Or
Yeah.
did he pop
Well,
out?
he got out before it exploded, I think.
Okay.
If I remember correctly.
And then he goes camo, too. Like, he'll run
Yeah,
around,
what a
go camo.
bastard.
Yeah.
God
Mhm.
damn it.
He's tough.
Yeah, and then I shot him until he died.
Well, and the other thing is, like, he's in the crotch of, like, this kind of mountainside valley thing. And there's a bunch of brutes on the mountainsides, and maybe some jackals too, but the brutes have skewers and rocket launchers. And so if you could just go down there with, well, this is what I did when I first tried it with my Razorback, I would just get exploded right away. So I ended up driving my Razorback up on the hillside to where those brutes are, and I had to take them out first.
Yeah,
And
you
then
kind of
I
have
was eventually
to.
able to pepper down. I don't know, that was my approach. David, how did you work it with vehicles?
I've done it a few different ways. I've definitely tried it with a Scorpion, and it's tough because he is obviously rates are kind of better in some ways on that, and he is way more maneuverable. But like I've a few times wedged him in to that little kind of area he's in, and he's just kind of like crashed his Wraith and gotten stuck. That's definitely happened like more than once of him trying to like evade and get out of the way. So that's been kind
He's
of fun.
the
And
most
obviously, like
prolific Wraith user in all
Yeah.
of the Banished.
the EMP grenades are great. Obviously, they disable and they're
Mm.
really good against his. But a couple of times he has caught me off guard because I've just been driving on that road and not really paying attention, and then all of a sudden there's brutes and snipers and skewers and rockets coming towards you and a big Wraith in the middle, and you're kind of
There's a
like,
shade
oh
turret,
crap, I'm
too.
not ready.
Like, it's
Yeah,
crazy.
there is. There's a lot of stuff here, and like there's a Crash Pelican nearby with some gear and stuff, which is handy. But the Razorback is pretty fun. He's definitely taken me out a few times. I've just not been ready for him. And then other times, bringing that shock rifle, that upgraded one, is amazing. I love it. Give that to like a bunch of Marines, and he can't do anything. He's constantly EMP'd.
Yeah,
And
that's a good point.
that's a really great way to kind of get
That's
him.
the way to do it. Good call. We can't direct the Marines, right? They were just
No,
left
no,
to
we
whatever
can't.
they decide to shoot at, like Hill
Yes.
5, right? Yeah. I wish they had added something where we could just direct them, because that'd be handy. But
Well, we
pretty-
had that.
the Marines are
they-
pretty good overall.
They took it away. They're okay. They're okay.
So the fight is north of Fob Hotel on a road, and like I said, kind of in this crotch of this mountainish hillside thingy. But yeah, good fight. Okay, the Skimmer Patrol. So we have 3 left. Skimmer Patrol, and they have the Purging Shock Rifle. They or it, I guess there is an alpha that we'll talk about here in a second. The Purging Shock Rifle is an improved version of the Shock Rifle with a magazine size of 15 units. It fires
Yes.
a burst of 5 every time you pull the trigger. So you have 3 shots with bursts of 5, and I think there's maybe 90 rounds or something like that in the thing. So you use this quite a bit, Krista?
Oh, yes. Yes, I love the shock rifle, and this one is just so much better.
Mm-hmm.
It's so nice. It's just, like I said, it's very satisfying. It's crazy satisfying.
Yeah, I need to use it. I meant to use it before that we recorded, but I haven't done it yet. So I will toy around with it. David, what's the alpha skimmer have to say?
This is one of my like favorite weapons, and like actually my first encounter with this was like an absolute disaster. Where I went in like totally like, oh, I had a scorpion, and I was like, I'm gonna take out these skimmers, like no problem. Who really cares? And they wrecked me so much.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. That shock rifle is like amazing. I just was not prepared. Sorry. So Skimmer Patrol. This is weird where it doesn't seem like it's an individual. It's just called Skimmer Patrol.
Oh, it is called. I thought it was called Alpha. Maybe not.
No, it just says Skimmer Patrol. Species unknown. Origin unknown. Threat level high. Which is really weird. Because you kind of know these things now. And it doesn't fill out the target information. Which is interesting. It didn't take us long on this ring for the galaxy to throw some pretty significant curveballs at us. One of those new challenges has been the creatures we're currently labeling as skimmers, which appear to be an as of yet unencountered species. At least not as far as my clearance indicates. I'm not sure who's writing this. They're working for, or perhaps with, the local banished forces, but their armor configurations doesn't seem to match the normal banished aesthetic, where we've encountered at least one small contingent of skimmers that seem to be more lethally outfitted group. We're not sure of their status in the banished hierarchy, but taking them out and gathering any intel we can, whether biological or strategic, wouldn't hurt if the opportunity presents itself. Oh, this is actually quoted to Spartan Hudson Griffin at the end.
Oh,
that's interesting. That's an unusual entry. That's not like any of the others.
Yeah, and these guys, we decided they were in Siluxes also, correct?
Did we? Probably.
They would have had to have been, because
they would have had to have been, yeah.
Harbingers.
Unless the Harbinger just made them from somewhere.
Yeah. They kind of look like they're Harbingers, but they're not. They're two different species. Okay, and I guess the encounter itself. Krista, any thoughts on the encounter? He's like, there's like this little cave thing that the Alpha. Well, I thought it was called Alpha, but maybe not. Anyway, so there's the skimmer that you need to kill that is flying around in there, and then a bunch of them outside. Any thoughts on this encounter?
Skimmers are annoying.
Yeah.
It wasn't terribly difficult, though. They go down quite easily.
Mm-hmm.
So, I just kind of ran in there with a BR and a commando and mopped them up.
Mm-hmm. I did a scorpion.
You brought a scorpion?
Yeah.
It's like the worst one to bring.
Yeah, I know. I just wanted to see if it would work, and it did.
Yeah, I got done.
Just one blast. He's done. Yeah. Anything else to say, David?
No, I kind of jumped the gun a bit with my story, but that's pretty much it. I've done it since then, like correctly, not in the scorpion. But
yeah.
I like the area, the kind of cave. There's kind of two entrances and stuff, and there's a couple of dudes kind of milling about here. It's interesting. It's good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a cool little setting. All right, the next one. Oh wait, location-wise, where are you, Alpha? You are north of Fob Juliet. Is where you are. Okay, Rith Cool. He has the pinpoint needler. It says, so have you guys used this thing, the pinpoint needler at all?
It's fantastic.
It's
no,
amazing.
not really.
It's broken.
It's a tracking needler. So it like has the lock on like like Banshee bombs or, the tracking rocket launcher.
Yeah.
But it's only a certain distance that it'll track, so you have to get close enough. But when you use it against grunts, Krista, did you notice this? When you use it against grunts, it just like headshots them constantly, and so it's just like a confetti mess. Like it's just like with the birthday party skull on. It's just like it's amazing. It's just, confetti just bursts out of their head, and
it's just the best party ever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely pick this thing up and use it. Rith is a skirmisher. That's right, and he's up on that hill where I guess that one. It's not even a hill. It's like on top of those Forerunner columns.
He's got a cool little base area that he's kind of in.
Yeah, it's cool. It is on the south of Fob Hotel. What's his rap sheet?
Wraith Cool, the skirmisher. So Wraith Cool was born in the Tower of Vetnos on the asteroid of Azad, one of the only cities of this colony to remain unaffected by the constant threat of piracy. After the Great Schism, her name rose to prominence in Tartarus' circle, largely due to her intellect and strategic wisdom of space warfare, which earned her the role of naval combat architect. Functioning in this capacity, Rith managed to take down over 185 UNSC capital ships, making her one of the most lethal Covenant assets in space. When the Covenant finally came to an end, however, Rith took her frigate Dagger of Mercy and its crew and continued ransacking Forerunner relic sites and trading them in the burgeoning cross-war, cross-species black market. Although lucrative, she desired to return to warfare and sought out Aatrox for the placement in the Banished. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so female, which is more common. And are skirmishers, I was trying to look this up before, but are skirmishers also Kigyar, or are they different?
They're related. They call them cousins or something. That's kind of a loose term they refer to them as.
That's right. So yeah, a cool encounter because what I did, I'm sure most people do, is fly a wasp or something up there, and then it's pretty well defended. There's like kind of one area there's a shade turret on one side, and then another area that's got some just a bunch of damage structures and whatnot on the other side. And Rith came at me, so I went and brought my wasp up onto one side and ended up kind of taking out some of the adds around. And then there's this little tunnel that connects the two sides of this platform up there. And Rith came at me pretty heavy, and I just headshot her, and that was it. She went down pretty quick. Krista, what?
Same thing. Headshot, and then you're done.
Yeah.
These ones are funny. Because the weapon hypes them up and gives you a little bit of a profile on them, and then you just walk up to them, shoot them in the head, and then leave. It's great.
Yeah. Yeah, when they don't have a shield, it's super easy. Anything to add, David?
No, except for the fact, I've tried to do this, from the Wasp, and it's way harder. If you just land and shoot her, it's so much simpler.
Yeah, because there's skewers and shot rifles and everything.
Exactly, yeah. I've tried to do it a few times that way, just kind of brute force it and tell him that this is fun. But really, you just need to land it and shoot her real simply. But the area that she's in is really cool. I kind of like it.
Yeah, super cool. Okay, one more. Zeratis. And Zeratis was mentioned in one of the... was it the Outpost Intels, I think? I think it was the one where they're collecting the rings. The fancy...
the base?
What they do, rings. Yeah, he was mentioned in one of those things. So yeah, he is up on the north side, kind of northwest of Fob November. He has the tracking... it's called the M41 tracker, which is the tracking spanker. And it tracks, and it's amazing. And definitely you need to use this thing. What does Zeratis have to say?
Zeratis is a battle officer. One of the most senior officers in the Banished, Zeratis, known to his peers as the Scourge Maker, was among the first to join the faction after Aatrox made his stand against the Covenant. Since then, he's been a critical component of the Banished exploration efforts, leading numerous operations to scour the Forerunner relic sites in search of critical assets, and destroying anything that stands in his way. In one such operation on the ocean moon Lagum, Zeratis ordered the sinking of a UEG research colony in pursuit of an ancient Forerunner site beneath the seas. Of the 1,244 scientists the analysts stationed there, none survived. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
And he's on the mountainside. If you go up to the... Let's see. It came in from east to west on the side of the mountain. He's kind of out there. The rest of his crew's kind of on the other side of the mountain, and so you can isolate him and take him out fairly easily. I took a wasp up there, and that kept getting shot down by his tracking rocket launcher. So I ended up landing it and then I think I used the pinpoint needler and maybe one of the other powerful weapons to take him out. But he's much easier when he's alone. Because, again, that tracking rocket launcher is kind of a bastard. Krista?
I just sniped the shit out of him.
Oh, yeah.
I wasn't going to deal with his shit.
Yep. Did you from high ground or low ground?
High ground. Yeah, I just got a little bit higher. Kind of a little back. Just kind of took him out.
Yep.
It's the best way to do it, because if he doesn't even notice you're there, it makes it way easier.
Yeah, I felt like I could get a couple shots. He's kind of just strolling around, and you can get a couple shots with the wasp. But he's got a beefy enough shield that he'll then shoot you down pretty quickly.
Yeah.
David?
Yeah, I think I've really sniped him a few times. He's in a really hard to get area by foot. I brute forced it this most recent time with a Razorback to try to get Marines there. It is doable. It took forever. It wasn't fun, but I did it. Even then, I had to like, the Razorback didn't really make it all the way, so I had to tip it out, and the Marines only followed me a short path, so I had to kind of lead him to them, which was kind of annoying. But anyway, it's a fight. It's cool. It's worth it for the rocket launcher. I'll tell you that much anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So moving forward here, now that we have all of these fancy weapons, which one do you take with you the most often as like your secondary or primary, I guess? Which of the fancy versions of these? Krista, which one do you like the most? You said you like the shock rifle now?
Yeah, I'll take the shock rifle or the stalker rifle usually, and then my secondary will be like a BR or a commando just because it's easier to find ammunition for them.
Yeah. That's true. Some of these do use the ammo crates. I think I've refilled my pinpoint needle.
They all do.
Kinetic.
They all do. They can all be refilled. The power weapons will take power or hard light or vice versa,
sure.
whatever the weapon they are.
That makes sense. Dave, what's kind of your loadout when you can get to these?
For these ones, the Purging Shock is probably my favorite. I love it so much. Other than that, the Tracker is pretty dope, and the Arcane Sentinel Beam is broken.
Oh my god, yes.
So broken.
Just melts.
Yeah.
Melty. I still like my Calcine Disruptor.
No, you don't.
I do.
Stop trying to sell this, Colin. It's not a thing.
Good.
Stop it.
If it's better than a couple of these, we'll have to rank these. Somebody will have to rank these.
Yeah,
And
that'd be cool.
We'll pit them against each other. Okay, let's do the distress call. There's one. It's called Fortune Squad, and they're on a plateau near Fob Hotel, kind of where Ordo Mall was. You can fly up there with a Wasp, and it's not super interesting because we've already done a ton of these. I guess it's nice to have one. It's also weird that there's only one. But there's a couple there's a phantom reinforcement and then a couple drop pods, and it's a neat little like area. If you walk up the path, it's kind of cool, but if you fly around in the Wasp, it makes it a lot easier. So I don't know, it's not really worth spending a ton of time on. David, do you recall Fortune Squad at all?
Not really. It might have been one of the last ones I got just because of where it is.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't remember it too much. I think it's relatively close to the fob. So I reckon I probably would have just loaded up a Razorback and went straight there.
Yeah.
For a fight.
Yeah. Krista, any thoughts on Fortune Squad or just kind of distress calls at this point in the game?
I went straight Banshee with this one.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was fun. But I guess just in general, I mean, the distress calls are cool. I feel like they're cooler when you just kind of happen upon them.
Mm-hmm.
When you're mopping them up, it becomes a little bit of a chore, but it's kind of nice when you're traveling earlier in the game, trying to get from place to place, and you just happen upon them.
Yeah, I like there's a little bit of a reward. There's some valor, I think, that you get. I wonder if, just an idea is if to your point exactly, Chris, if they just are randomly generated encounters and then you need to like do, I don't know, 10 or 15 of them to unlock something maybe. But having, I guess it kind of makes sense that you encounter a bunch in the second open world area and then only one here because you're kind of almost done with the game at this point. And there's a lot of high value targets and stuff like that. But anyway, I'm glad they didn't add a ton here versus the other open world area. There's just a bunch, and that was a little overkill. There is a Spartan core. There's a little cave down below this plateau, which is cool, and there's a Spartan core down there. I really like that. So go explore that. There's lots of little encounters like that around here. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Let's just cover the skulls really quickly. There's a black eye skull, and as a reminder, the black eye shields only regenerate when you melee.
Ugh.
So that one's fun. And that's the one that's in that's like a little cave behind the waterfall. Like you have to climb up in there to get to that one. It's near the south beacon there's the 4 beacons that we have to do for the next mission. So yeah, check that one out. That's cool. There's also Famine, which is the Famine itself is weapons dropped by enemies have half the amount of ammo. Also no fun. Not really any of the skulls are fun. But that one's on the north side of the small little island behind a rock, and there's a dead elite right there, which is kind of cool. And it's over off on the kind of the eastern side of the map, way over there. There's a little island rock thingy, so that one's fun. And then there's Thunderstorm, and this one upgrades the rank of most enemies, so it makes everybody a little bit harder. And it's on top of, there's like a single hex, like up on the north of the beacon, of the north beacon, and it's just kind of way up top on there. It's overlooking, so that's cool. And there's nothing else around it really. It's just the skull on this hex. There is one more to be found in this area, and that's the Mythic, but we'll talk about that in the Command Spire mission, because that's where you find it. Okay, let's really quickly cover off on the Forerunner artifacts. There are 3 of them. These are the last 3, so more of Despondent Pyre talking and kind of figuring out what's going on with these mysterious rings, and I guess the ring itself. So they're in, well, this isn't in number order. I'll read them in number order. There's 5, 6, and 7. Number 5 is kind of in the central location on a mountain. Number 6 is on the west. This one's actually pretty cool because it's near there's a river that runs through it, and then the water kind of falls off the side of the ring.
I love that.
Yeah, that was a really good one. And I do like how they aren't revealed when you do the fobs. So you still have to go close to them for them to show up. And then the last one, Artifact 7, is in the northeast. There's a Spartan core over there and a Mjolnir armory over there. So if you're just around hunting, you'll stumble across this one. And this one's actually guarded by 3 brutes, and they all have their banished shields. So they're actually pretty beefy to take out. So there's the 3, and we'll play those for you, right?
Time continues to be on my mind. I now believe these relics to contain a warning. A message from the past. But from whom? And why? As I look to the sky, I am struck by a thought. This ring, a constant loop. Are we all fated to repeat the sins of the past? I am close to deciphering the runes. Perhaps I will learn who left them. My makers, the Forerunner's greatest fear was understood to be the great parasite. The Flood. A scourge that almost wiped out everything. I now believe this hypothesis to be incorrect. Their greatest fear was losing their power. The fear of a master who would become a slave. Enemy within. That is the meaning of the runes carved into this monument. These runes predate me. Older than even the Forerunners. Time moves forward and back again. I now see rings inside of rings. Great circles everlasting. Without beginning or end. Endless. As I say their name, I feel foolish, uninformed, misled. And I'm afraid.
Okay, more ramblings of Despondent Pyre. She's confused. We're confused. We don't know what's going on here. But they're really hammering home that there is something besides the flood that is worse than the flood through these, more or less.
I'll believe it when I see it, Colin.
Yeah, when we see it, we will see it, right? So the last one I think is interesting because she says enemy within. Says that's the meaning of the runes carved into this monument. I don't know if it's the specific monument or it's all of the monuments, all the rings, if it says enemy within. And because that could mean many things, and we'll probably talk about that more towards after we finish the campaign. But it's interesting, I guess. She does talk about the Endless specifically as well. We don't know exactly what that means. But the Endless are Zalanin, which she's also mentions as well. I don't know, Krista, what's your take on these last couple?
It's interesting. I feel like some of the concepts she talks about we kind of already know because we're super lore nerds, just kind of talking about how the Forerunners were scared to lose their power, blah, 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 how they probably weren't as good as, a lot of people say they are, or how they're kind of made out to be towards the beginning of the series. I like the idea of the circle and stuff repeating itself, because that's kind of been a little bit of a theme that's been going on with just, the Flood getting re-released and stuff like, Cortana kind of really mirrors Medicant bias. So there's a lot of stuff that's kind of mirroring the events of the past, so I kind of like how they're alluding to that a little bit more. And then obviously, like, of course they have to name drop the Flood.
Yeah, I feel like they're more or less telling us as a player, they're saying the Flood aren't here.
There's like you're not going to see the Flood, okay, guys?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Which is strange to me. I mean, like, the Flood was so hyped up for so long, and now it feels like they're trying to, like, de-escalate the Flood to kind of move the Endless into that role.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess I can't make any, like, concrete decisions on that until, we actually get to know the Endless a little bit more, but it is kind of like, what's going on?
Yeah, it's a lot of foreshadowing and stuff that'll probably make sense after we find out more, I feel like. I don't know. David, any thoughts on these?
They're okay. Again, there's not a lot of information here. I know we've talked a lot of them before already. I do like how it touches on, in number 6, the fact that their fear is that it's not the Flood, but it's actually losing their power. Their fear of the master
Forerunners.
become the slave. Yeah, I really like that. And we see that motivation, because it actually makes sense, because that comes across in other media as well, in other places where we see the Forerunners, how they react badly to, like, not being the ones in charge. I think that's pretty cool. And the idea that they would be, maybe not, it's not like the fear of the Endless may not be worse than the Flood, quote unquote. It might just the fact that the Endless were maybe superior in different ways to the Forerunners, and they were afraid of maybe the Endless overtaking them and making them slaves, as opposed to, like, the Flood just consuming them. But anyway, I think that's interesting. We'll see where they go from here.
Yeah, and she does call out specifically that these runes, these things that we're finding, these rings, predate the Forerunners, which is super interesting.
Which means that these were brought onto the ring.
Yeah.
Like, someone found these and put them on the ring, because the ring was built, so these existed before the ring existed, which is interesting.
Which makes me think that maybe they're actually Endless relics. There's something from artifacts from their world, if they predate the Forerunners. It's interesting. Maybe this is where they got the idea of the ring shape, or the ring halo, which would be cool.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I thought about that. Yeah. I love that. All right. So
Done so?
Yeah. So I think we're good there. Okay, what else do we have to cover? We have some Easter eggs to cover, and just really quickly, we'll run through a couple Easter eggs. They are pretty basic here, but some fun stuff. There is a couple dolls. There's a Didact doll. There's a Harbinger doll. There is a Jameson Locke doll, an Endless doll, and a Grunt doll. Go check those out. Echo 216 also has a doll. And then there's a Blood Gulch map hologram, kind of in the center area. Again, there's Easter egg. There's a little interactive map you can find. So that's kind of cool. It's inside Riven Gate, this Blood Gulch map, which is neat. Go check that out. And then there is an original Xbox, which you can find. It's kind of on just a hard to reach spot with all the hexes. You kind of jump down and you can find the original Xbox in like the green shadows, which is neat. So yeah, I guess I just wanted to talk about really quickly, and then we can kind of close and do community stuff. But just any other interesting encounters that you guys found? Again, like this area is cool, but it's at the tail end of the open world experience. After we finish this, once we go into the sequence, that is like the point of no return, and the game doesn't really warn you, and I guess it doesn't really matter. But if you did want to find some cores and you find yourself a little further along, you're like, oh crap, I can't get anything else until the very end of the game. Any thoughts about just this landmass, David?
It's actually one of my favorites. I kind of like the environments here because it takes a little bit of a change. I like the water that's prevalent here with the rivers and the lakes and stuff like that. It's pretty cool. What else can I think? Some of the bases and stuff like that and where the beacons kind of are is really cool. I like all those areas and all these encounters. There's some really cool caves and cool stuff to find in this area. I like when you take it as a whole. It's a great map. I really do like it. It's just obviously unfortunate that we don't have more kind of terrain and environments and stuff like that and biomes and all this kind of stuff, but it's cool. I like it as a starting point because like the whole map's revealed to you now. You probably have a wasp, so you can pretty much do everything. Do all your chores, like Krista
That's
says.
right. Halo chores. Krista, anything else to point out?
I have a confession. Once I got to this point in the game and I had access to flying vehicles, I did not explore as much because I just literally flew everywhere.
It's a good point, though. I feel like it's nice having the wasp, but this area is so interesting. If you don't have the wasp, if you just if you do it on foot or do it in a vehicle, they put a lot of love into this area, but a lot of it can be missed.
Yeah, which is kind of like the downside of them unlocking flying vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I walk around a little, it's interesting to see, like, the sentinels and stuff like that roaming around. That's something that really, is noticeable in this area, but, other than that, I can't really think of much, because I was flying around.
Yeah. Well, when you're flying around, like, finding the cores, like, there's little interesting spots, where the cores are. There's a core in the middle. See, that's north of Lima. I wrote down inside of a mountain. So like inside of all those Forerunner hex columns, and it's defended by just a ton of grunts. There's a bunch of grunts in the middle of this thing, and it's a neat little fight, neat little encounter. I flew a wasp in there and tried to survive as long as possible before it blew up, and then took up the grunts. So that's fun. And then at right where there's like the edge of where the spine continues on to somewhere where we may or may not go later on in the game, there's a bunch of just dead banished right around the Spartan core. So that's cool. Like I'm sure there's a story that happened right in that spot, which is neat. And then you also find the wasp coating that you can unlock, and it's a Mjolnir armory. It's on the edge, kind of on that one of these big cracks. And you have to fly the wasp down, and then you can see a bunch of these green glow sticks that are lighting the way to where it is, where you can actually find the Mjolnir armory. So they put a lot of love into this area. I love exploring it, but again, if you're on a wasp, you do tend to miss a lot of the detail. Okie dokes, let's wrap her up. Let's do some community, and we will get out of here. Discord had a tough time with this question, so I don't know what you can do with this, Krista.
I'm going to read the couple of ones that they put before they started having an actual conversation back and forth. At one point I came in and I'm like, the fuck, guys, come on.
Yeah. So maybe this is why these arguments are why I do all the dirty stuff for them.
I know.
Because they can agree on that.
So, as punishment, I'm not going to go sifting through this to read everyone's, but I'll read these first couple ones.
Okay.
Jedi Spartan 38 says, roaming scare... Huh?
Read the question, too.
Oh, sorry. Suggest new environment, elements, challenges, or encounters that would make the next Halo Infinite open world experience even better. And this is a question for Mission Debrief, Halo Infinite, Reformation, HVT, Distress Calls, and Easter Eggs episode. Oh my god. Okay, so Jedi Spartan 38 says roaming scarabs. And that makes me so happy. I love
That'd
that.
be neat. Mm-hmm.
Could you imagine, like, trying to do something and you see a scarab and you just have to run for your life?
Yeah, that would be cool.
Our friend Axel said I would add random encounters between patrolling UNSC and banished/endless. Maybe the UNSC is transporting resources and we need to help defend them from an enemy assault. Of course, these are not permanent activities. It would happen randomly, and it has a tangible impact on the world if you fail. So that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Matt says, in all honesty, in one of the episodes, I think David said that Shadows of Mordor style Nemesis system would be cool.
Yeah.
And amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. That's interesting. I didn't play too much of Shadows of Mordor, but I do remember the Nemesis system. Non-profit of clarity. In general, just more content and RPG elements could definitely be added. More puzzle stuff, especially something related to the power seeds to actually make them useful.
Mm-hmm.
Random times when Jaga or another member of the Silent Shadow or Hand of Atriox actually comes after you, and defeating them gives you armor pieces or customization. Oh, for upgrading your Fob Marines. That's interesting. It'd be interesting if they, like, came at you, but you never actually got to, like, before you killed them, they retreated until that big boss battle.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, Jaga just comes up and yeets you. That'd be great.
Right. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Tokyo Drift says, I'll just say I don't think Halo needs an open world. I'm perfectly okay running through mission to mission in different environments using non-upgraded equipment. Lame.
There's another comment on Facebook. We won't dwell on it, but it's an interesting thought process. Is like some people just wanted the mission that Halo has versus this open world. So.
Yeah, and I can definitely see that.
Mm-hmm.
Rye says, how about I would like anything we do to actually do something with the enemy environment. We spend time taking down strongholds that are means of production and nothing happens. When we take down the strongholds, we should see changes in enemy forces. They should be lower tier weaponry, less vehicles, and not as many high-ranking enemies. That's interesting. I like that.
Yeah. And that is the trap of the open world, right? If you're going to do the open world, make the things that you do in the open world meaningful. And I feel like that's good feedback.
Yeah.
And it's definitely not. Because like we had talked about one of the outposts where, was it Glibnub? Is that his name? Like you take out that, and then meanwhile the propaganda towers
still are active.
Spouting, right? Yeah. So stuff like that.
Yeah. And then they just start talking back and forth, and I'm not reading a conversation.
Okay.
Screw you guys.
Yeah. Screw you, but thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for replying.
Okay. Facebook, how'd you do?
Hey, we got a good few comments in here. So, Colin Perkins, admin at April 18th, suggests new environmental elements, challenges, or encounters that would make the next Halo Infinite open world experience even better. Open bracket question, Mission Debrief, Halo Infinite, Reformation, HVT, Distress Calls, and Easter Eggs episode.
Mm-hmm.
Whew. That's a lot. Okay, we have 20 comments.
Oh boy.
Jimmy John, exact one-to-one recreation of Two Fort from Team Fortress 2 and a giant statue of Bearded King David. Oh yeah. The way you capture the Two Fort outpost is by taking the intelligence, but there's a fuck ton of sentry guns in the intelligence room all poised to destroy you. Hope people know that. Didn't play much Team Fortress 2, if at all, I don't think. Simon Key, random weather effects like heavy snowstorms and monsoons would be awesome. That would be dope. Your fobs should be attacked by large banished forces. The larger they are, the further into the campaign you are. And if you don't take the immediate call to assist your base, it'll be lost back to the banished. There should also definitely be a large vehicle mobs like a banshee or a chopper swarm or a scarab. All that is awesome. 100% yes. Christos says, Maybe don't put things on a map we are unable to visit or revisit or replay. Have a boss HVP that was too many vehicles or an insane vehicle. Wasted open world, in my opinion. That's fair enough. Kyle, convoys to escort more Marines to save. Hell yeah. Miles, rather than additional open world elements, having more singular one-off mainline campaign missions with unique vehicles, scenarios, and environments, more like ODST, and far less Far Cry. Yes. Dicky, Witcher-style quests with a character who gives you the quest and sometimes joins you and has multiple steps that feel immersive. Not always like a shoot and blow stuff up, but like to get a place a certain amount of time, dialogue options, etc. That'd be pretty cool. You're looking for more RPG-style stuff in Halo? I'm okay with that. Okay. I just want stronger story elements, says Jonathan. Luke, I think if they expanded on the high-value target element a bit more and there were Spartan killer banished that hunted you randomly throughout the game and had unique and different ways to try and kill you. Hell yeah, Nemesis system, people. Maybe there would be some kind of audio cue like the weapon says, I sense someone is following / watching us. And you have to try and figure out where they were and where they were coming from. That sounds dope. Yeah. I understand why this game is a single biome, but I'm hoping DLCs adds more biomes like desert, Arctic, volcanic, and swamp. Wink, wink. I think Valor unlocks should also be upgrade fobs because some of them are in terrible defensive positions. There should be a periodic attacks by the banished as well. I think we're all on the same wavelength here. Yeah. If your defenses are not high enough, then the banished will reoccupy the fob. This will require you to recapture the fob, obtain that fast travel location and Valor that comes with it. As you unlock fobs, rescue troops, and obtain Valor, you should be able to send strike teams out to do missions. Oh, I'm thinking Assassin's Creed style Brotherhood where you send them out. Yeah, I'm all about those little metagames, right. Man. Successful completion of these missions will take your troops better in combat, will limit banished reinforcements. This will make missions easier, and fobs will be a lot less likely to be recaptured by the banished. Oh man, yeah, here we go. You're getting a good old like. That's a very popular choice, I'll say, by a lot of guys like that, by Lucas. Richard says, 1, having more vehicles. For the biggest Halo game to date, why does it feel so limited in vehicles? Agreed, they could have Scarabs. Imagine traversing terrain as Scarab. Oh my god. Oh god, he's got loads of stuff here. I'll keep going. Upgradable fobs for the buy incoming way. Everyone says kind of the same stuff. Everyone loves that stuff. 3, given the option to take more than 5 Marines in the battle, also give us the ability to command cover, attack, such as commanding. This all makes sense. 100%. 4, and most importantly, the usable mechanic of switching utilities. It's so clumsy and awkward. Yes, we all hate it. It sucks. Alexander, also include environmental hazards with related biome, desert, sandstorms, dust devils, snow, blizzards. You know what you want to do. That's pretty cool. Alexander again, forge mode in the open world, so you can build your fob, defend it, fight style. I'm not sure if I like that, but I know a lot of people would. I am knee deep in crazy deep town of No Man's Sky, and like there's a lot of base building there, and I could see that being cool, but also crazy. But anyway, yeah, there's modes there I'm sure people will love. Manny, start selling plots of land to incoming visitors. Arc Tycoon DLC. The Spartan with the most sale gets all the expense paid trip to Halo. Untouched by eons, this Halo needs to be ravaged by the only way a Spartan can. Jake, outpost upgrades, outpost defense, run the banished attacks on the outpost in the future, endless or flood. That'd be cool. Amado Jose says, add in timing and scoring for the missions, fobs, HVT, outposts, and distress calls. Keep track of personal and global leaderboards. In addition, the higher you score, the more value you are awarded when successfully completed the mission, fob, etc. That's cool. And finally, some guy named Ian Francis says, Valor-based support call-in, radio in for an ODST drop, or Mac Barrage like in Halo Awards. Oh my god. Yeah. Yes.
ODST drops.
That's all dope. These are all great stuff. I mean, I think a lot of the community are in the same. I mean, like, we could just crowdsource this Halo game. It'd be incredible. Like, just everybody. So many great ideas. That's great, guys. Thank you all very much.
Yep, absolutely. Love all the ideas. Hopefully somebody from 343 is listening and they're considering these ideas. I'm sure they've heard them in other channels as well. Social media, Twitter loves to yell, but I feel like that was pretty good, pretty constructive. All right, that will do it for debriefing of the HVT's distress call and Easter eggs in the Reformation area from Halo Infinite. On the next episode, we'll be debriefing the sequence, back on track, kind of. Send us your thoughts, podcastevolved@gmail.com, or drop us a tweet, and podcastevolved on Twitter. You can also support the show by visiting Evolved on Patreon for everything Evolved has to offer. Visit evolvedhalo.com. Until next time.
Evolved.